Well, a lot of developments this week, listeners, in the housing market. I've been wanting to talk about this from Tuesday morning. It's funny because I got distracted by some other things, and I'd already planned a discussion about interest rates following an announcement by Scotiabank on Monday that they're lowering their mortgage rates to what they say is the lowest in the market, 6.99%. So I was actually going to end by saying that other financial institutions need to take note and that the NHT needs to lower its rates because
Aha.
with Scotia at 6.99% and the NHT's upper band at 6%, the housing trust would have been in danger of soon becoming obsolete to a large group of contributors as commercial interest rates head even further down. And then, of course, as you know, that very afternoon, the Prime Minister announced that the NHT was indeed slashing interest rates by 1 percentage point across the board so that their highest rate would now be 5%. And not only that, they're raising the amount you can borrow by $1 million. So combined, you and your spouse or you and a family member can borrow up to $13 million. Additionally, taxes relating to home ownership are now less, as the finance minister made those announcements last week. And houses and apartments are just going up all over the country and all over the city, both by the NHT and by private contractors. So theoretically, it's a great time to buy a house.
Theoretically.
And these things, you caught that, right?
Yes.
These things, in theory, should make it cheaper. But why do I say theoretically? Why do I say theoretically? Because in reality, real estate prices have probably never been higher as well. As Patria K pointed it out a couple of weeks ago, and we had a discussion on this program with the Realtors Association and some others, when you're talking about 35 and $45 million for a one-bedroom apartment, and these developers say they're targeting young professionals. Like, who are these young professionals that can afford that? So when they said $45 for a one bedroom, what is $13 million really going to do towards that? But the apartments are apparently selling. Who's buying them? We asked the president of the Realtors Association when he was on this show, and his answer was essentially rich people. You know, people buying investment properties, people buying cool little apartment for their kids, and of course, as you said, the Airbnb crowd who's interested in short-term rentals.
Buying to rent it back to someone.
So in effect, all these measures by the government with the NHT and the taxes, what they've accomplished is recalibrating the scale. It hasn't effectively become cheaper to own a home because house prices have skyrocketed. Had house prices stayed more or less the same, adding, of course, your regular appreciation, then yeah, these measures would finally put home ownership within the reach of perhaps even the majority. But it almost feels like one step forward, two steps back for someone trying to own a home because the government says, here's a hand to help you reach the goal. And then the contractors and the realtors just move the goalpost. It's like that State Farm ad, you know, with the old man dangling the dollar. He says, oh, you almost had it. Gotta be quicker than that. It's just so frustrating. And then yesterday, the Guardian Group, I don't know if you heard this bit of news, Dennis. The Guardian Group broke ground for new housing development in New Kingston. They say it's a $4 billion investment on Musgrave Road. They have 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. They're building 172 units. They didn't disclose the prices, but some quick math, $4 billion divided by 172 units is $22 million per unit on average. And that's the investment. That's not what they're selling it for. So God knows what they're going to be selling it for, much more than the 22 million. And this is 1 and 2 bedroom apartments, no yard. You're lucky for more than one window. And you're talking about a monthly mortgage payment of $200,000 and up. How many people can afford that? And I heard the PM speaking at the groundbreaking, talking about how Kingston is actually underutilized as a city, saying he wants more people to live here. And, you know, that it caught me off guard hearing him say that. He said Kingston could have well over 1 million people, but half of the population leaves every night and comes back in every morning. And he said you want for a city to be vibrant and growing. What you want is for people to live, sleep, and eat right here. And you know, it threw me for a loop to hear him say that for several reasons, not least of which it feels like Kingston is overcrowded. But it may be indeed, as he also pointed out, there's just a lack of amenities here, and they need to improve those things, the road network, water supply, and that sort of thing. Many people do want to live in Kingston because that's where they work, but you can't afford it. And the PM has given the NHT this mandate to build more house. But how many of those houses are here in Kingston? I was under the impression that government policy was geared towards getting people out of Kingston to live elsewhere.
Ease the urban
That's
pressure.
exactly, that's why all this talk about developing a new city and improving and upgrading the road networks to and from the capital to make commutes easier. But if you truly want people to live elsewhere, you have to create jobs elsewhere too, because ideally people want to live near to where they work so they don't have that stress of a commute. You know, it's a lot for a young person like myself with a young family, you know, trying to figure out this thing called life and make wise financial decisions. The reality check of it all, when you get good news like what we heard this week about the interest rates coming down, NHT and all that, and then you start looking at house prices and realizing, gosh, is this even attainable, even on two fairly decent salaries? I mean, what will we have left over for food and car payments and pampers? Not even talking about a little fun now and again, just necessities. You know, it's a lot to take in.
It is. It is.
That's what's on my mind.